So what I'm thinking today, there's a pose which I might have done a couple of times before in the class I lead at the YMCA and some other classes, and it's called 8-angle pose, and the Sanskrit name is um, Astavakrasana. Astavakrasana. It's a challenging pose. It's a difficult pose. But I was thinking we would lead up to that, just for the fun of it. Avoid it if you have any wrist issues, elbow issues, or shoulder issues. But we can work our way to it, so we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. But it's a fun pose. It's an asymmetrical hand balance. And if you can do crow, and if you can do chaturanga, where you're holding at 90 degrees with the elbows, you probably can do this pose. But I'd like to show you anyway. So there's a lot going on at the moment. In California, in this area in particular, in addition to COVID, we've got all the fires. I think it was last weekend. It was a weird night. We had like a thunderstorm all night, and unfortunately a lot of the lightning strikes were dry lightning strikes, and they set fires everywhere. So people are struggling with the fires. So it's pretty smoky outside. So my heart goes out to all those people that are struggling, that are losing their homes, and I dedicate this practice to the firefighters trying to control the fires. And then we're going through this election process. They start to do the convention, so let's hope everyone makes the right choice. So this 8-angle pose, some people call it 8-point pose. You need open shoulders for it, and you need open hips. And I was going to work more on hips now today, but whenever you work on hips, you work on shoulders as well. It's sort of the two go together a little bit, but we'll emphasize hips a little bit more than shoulders, I think, today. What I'd like to do is, let's start off lying on our backs, and we're just going to do an easy hip opener. So just come onto your back, and I call this one fallen tree, because it's a little bit like tree pose. So we're going to extend the left leg on the ground, and you're going to bring the right foot inside that left leg. Try and get it above the knee, and you just let that knee come over to the side. So it's like tree. Right foot is inside the left leg, and you're going to feel the opening of the hip. This is a nice easy hip opener. You want to keep the head supported by the ground. Breathing, regular breathing. And if you want a little bit more stretch, you can bring that right foot on top of that left leg. And you can just feel a little bit more opening on that hip. Nice, easy hip opener. And then we're going to switch legs. We straighten the right leg on the ground, we bring the left foot inside that right leg, above the knee if you can, and then we just let that left leg come towards the ground. Just try and let it relax, try and let all that tension melt. You're not forcing the leg down, you're just letting it happen. It's almost like you're trying to breathe into that area, so that tension just melts away. And if you want, you can bring the left foot onto the top of that right leg. A few more breaths here. Then we'll bring both feet down to the ground. Windshield wipers, we do this quite a lot. We walk the feet in, feet are wider than hips, arms either side of you on the ground. And we're just going to take the legs from side to side. Just take your time. Inhale as the knees come up. Exhale down. Inhale, knees up. Exhale down. And then we recenter the knees. Let's bring the left leg up to the ceiling, holding onto the back of the leg. A little bend in the knee. And we're just going to work on the foot, pointing the foot towards the ceiling, and then we're flexing the foot. Point and flex. So in sort of medical terms, when you're pointing, they actually call that plantar flexion. And when you're pulling the foot in, this dorsiflexion. A lot of time people just say point and flex like this. And then we're just going to rotate the foot in one direction. And we rotate in the other direction. And then on the other side, the other leg, taking hold of the back of the other leg, we point and flex a few times. And we circle in one direction. And we circle in the other direction. Pull the knees in. And we're just going to rock from side to side a few times. And we take hold of the back of the legs and we just roll ourselves up. And we're going to come onto our hands and knees. We'll do cat-cow and then we'll just do thread the middle. We'll bellow over the shoulders a little bit. So on your hands and knees, inhale, belly down, head up. Exhale as you round the back and tuck the chin. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling into cat. You're moving slowly. You're moving with the breath. Trying to get that wave-like motion, that wave starting from the base of the spine, working its way through into the neck. Now we're going to work our way into thread the needle. So we come into a neutral position with the back. So you're not dropping the belly too much, you're not rounding the back, try and get neutral. And then we're going to take that right arm, we pass the right arm behind the left arm, and you're going to rest on the right side of the face. And you're going to push that left hand into the ground, elbow up towards the ceiling. Now the more you reach to the side with that bottom arm, the more you push into the ground with that left hand, the more you're going to feel that stretch. So I feel it, a little bit of a shoulder opener, bottom shoulder in particular, and a bit of a stretch in the lower back. And if you want, you can bring that left arm up and you can pass it behind the back, reaching for the inside of the opposite thigh. Top shoulder pulled away from the head, shoulder blade in. Hold it, a couple more breaths. And then we switch to the other side, coming onto your hands and knees, and then threading the left arm behind the right arm. Reaching towards the side of the room, pushing that right hand into the ground. Then if you want, right arm comes up, you bringing it behind the back, reaching for the inside of the thigh. come into a seated position. So as I say, we're going to probably emphasize the hips a little bit more, but bit of shoulder and hip work. So let's work on the shoulders a little bit first. So let's bring the right arm up. So the right arm is parallel to the ground, and we're retracting that shoulder back. We do this quite often. And we're going to pull that arm in, pulling above the elbow. You're going to inhale, getting tall. We're getting an easy stretch. Exhale, we pull that arm in a little bit closer. Inhale, getting taller. Exhale, we're pulling that arm in a little bit closer. 2 or 3 more breaths. Each inhale, length. Each exhale, you're pulling that arm in, trying to deepen that stretch. And then we switch. Other arm, extend it forward, parallel to the ground, shoulder back. We pull that arm in, we're finding an easy stretch. We inhale, getting length. Exhale, we pull that arm a little bit closer. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more breath. Inhale, getting tall. Exhale, pulling the arm in a little bit closer. And now we just work on the shoulders a little bit, just trying to loosen up. Whatever feels good. Rotating, up, down. We hold a lot of tension in the shoulders, so this is good. Do this a lot. If you do a lot of computer work, now and again take a break, work on the shoulders, loosen up. So the pose we're aiming for, that peak pose today, 8 angle pose, as I say, there's going to be weight on the hands. So let's just stretch the hands out a little bit. Our usual stretch for the wrists. We're going to bring the hands between the legs, so the big toes are touching, knees apart. Plenty of space between the fingers. Not so much between the thumb and the index finger, but a little bit of space there. And the fingers are pointing towards the feet, inside the wrist, parallel to the edge of the mat that's in front of you. And we're just going to hang out here a little bit. And this is going to stretch out the wrists. I feel it in the wrists, I feel it in the forearms. It doesn't hurt, but it is a good stretch for me. And this, as you know, I do this a lot, and I usually do it before any hand balances like crow, peacock, handstand, and 8 angle pose. Flying pigeon. Maybe we'll do flying pigeon next week or 2. That's another challenging pose. And then we just bring the hands up, we bring the back of the hands together, and we just rotate in one direction, trying to keep the wrists as close together as you can. And then we rotate in the other direction. So another thing you could do, instead of bringing the hands down like that, what you could do is if you just interlace the fingers, so you've got a stretch in both wrists but the opposite stretch, and you just go like backwards and forwards like that. That's another way to stretch the wrists out. So that's an alternative. Maybe you like that one. There we go. So hips. So what we could do, what we will do, we'll come into downward facing dog, extend to down dog, and we'll do a hip opener. So on your hands and knees, tuck the toes into down dog. So let's hold down dog for a few breaths. Chin is tucked, you're looking between the legs. You're pushing the hands into the ground, especially the thumb in the index finger. Chin is tucked, you're looking between the legs, or even towards the belly button. And then let's bring the feet a little bit closer. So there's an inch or 2 between the big toes. And then we're going to bring that right leg up to the ceiling, extend it down dog. Then we stack the hips, and as we stack the hips, we're bending that top knee, opening that hip. You're keeping the hands solidly on the ground. Hold it for 2 or 3 breaths. And we switch legs, top foot down, other leg comes up, extended down dog, and we stack the hips and bend that top knee. Top foot joins the bottom foot. We bring the knees down and we sit on the heels. So a lot of shoulder openers, it helps to open the shoulders just by opening that chest. One way to do that is you're sitting on the heels, you bring the hands behind you so the fingers are lined up with the toes, elbows start to bend, you're opening the chest as much as you can. I start off with the chin tucked and then I slowly lower the head and then maybe bring those hips up. Breathe. Come up, interlace the fingers. So this one here is if you just sort of don't think about the shoulders at all. What happens is if you look at my shoulders, they're coming slightly forward. My back is slightly rounded, and then I try and bring the arms up. They're not going to go very far, but if you start to get taller and you pull the shoulders down, shoulder blades together, you've got a lot more mobility in those shoulders. Try this. Keep the shoulders happy. If you feel any discomfort in the shoulders, you're gonna don't go as deep. If you feel any discomfort in the shoulders, the 8-angled pose we're going to aim for is probably not the pose for you. So, but hopefully you can get something out of that pose. Anyway, let's do this again. We're opening the chest, shoulders down, shoulder blades together, and then we're going to look up, we're going to hinge forward, and then we tuck the chin. We're trying to bring the top of the head towards the ground as we lift the arms up towards the ceiling. And we breathe. We come back up. We bring the hands down to the ground. We're back on our hands and knees. We come into downward facing dog. We bring the right leg up to the ceiling, extended down dog. We sweep that foot through between the hands, back knee comes down. Coming into a lower lunge, arms up towards the ceiling, breathe. We switch, bringing the hands down to the ground. I'm on my fingertips. Right leg back, left leg forward. Right knee down, arms come up. This is going to stretch out the quads. We bring the hand down, fingers down. We come into plank, whole plank. So keep the arms straight and you're just going to sink between the shoulder blades. And then you come back up. Sink between the shoulder blades. Come back up. If you want, the knees can be down, or you can do this while you're on the hands and knees. If it's easier, you can just do it like this, coming up and down like that. We come back into downward facing dog. We look forward, we walk forward between the hands. Inhaling halfway up, exhale, folding forward. Inhale, we come all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. Half salute. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, we're folding forward and down. Looking at the legs. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we fold forward again. Inhale, breath core brings us up. Exhale, Samastiti. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we fold forward. Inhale, we come all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, Samasthiti. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, Samasthiti. I think I got mixed up with some of the verbal cues then. Okay, chair. We're bending the knees. We can see the toes. If you can't see the toes, take the knees back. So let's take a twist to the left side. So you're going to bring the right arm onto the outside of that left leg, palms together, left elbow up towards the ceiling. And then we take the twist in the other direction. Then we come back up into chair. And then Samasthiti. Move the shoulders again. Bring the arms up. Arms extended to the side this time. Eagle arms. We'll go eagle arms. We'll add chair. We won't do the full eagle yet. We're not warmed up enough. So we're going to bring the right arm under the left arm. We bring the back of the hands together or the palms together, and we come into that chair. Lean back a little bit, and either you can touch the nose with the thumb or the fingers, or if you prefer, you can bring the arms up towards the ceiling. You're going to feel a nice stretch across the shoulders on this one, between the shoulder blades. We slowly come back up. We shake everything out. Arms come up. Left under right. Left arm under right arm. Hands parallel, back of the hands or the palms. We're in chair. Touching the nose maybe, or bringing the arms up. Once you're in here, you want to lean back slightly, try to open the chest, so you're breathing. So I'm trying to keep the back pretty neutral. And then we release. And we shake everything out again. Same action as before. With the shoulders, we're interlacing the fingers, we're pulling the shoulders down, shoulder blades in. We bend the knees, we rest the belly on the legs, and we're looking between the legs, and we carefully bring those arms up. Keep the knees bent, especially if you have any discomfort in the lower back. And then we slowly come back up. Because another nice way to open this part is with the strap, if you remember the strap work. So we'll do that another week. Let's do a few more lunges. Let's do some flows into lunges. How's that? Keep the smoke out of the room. What I think I'll do, I'll just turn this mat. So I can do it in this direction. So you can't see above my head, never mind. Okay. Let's come into chair. Bend the knees, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we plank the hands, we're coming into plank. Hold plank. Chaturanga. I'd like you to try chaturanga, even if you're not there yet. Just see how it goes. So from plank, the shoulders are over the wrists, the heels are over the toes. You then start to bring the whole body forward. Then the hands, you're trying to rotate the hands out, keep the elbows in. So you don't want the elbows to go over to the side like this. You're trying to keep the elbows in. The inside of the elbow is facing forward. You keep bringing the whole body forward, and you try and drop to 90 degrees. And then you come into upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. Chaturanga is a challenge. So what happens a lot, if you think about it, elbows, they like to just come out to the side like that. So it's a challenge to try and keep them in nice and close. So quite often what happens is you're there and you just sort of collapse elbows out to the side. But we're trying to do it so that the inside of the elbow is facing forward and we're keeping the elbows in nice and close. If you can't hold it for too long, it's alright, just go down sooner rather than later. Come into planks. So this is the reason why I say, imagine the hands are glued to the mat, and you're trying to turn the hands outwards. So you're trying to, on the right hand, you're trying to rotate the earth in a clockwise direction. You're trying to rotate the earth in the anti-clockwise direction with the left hand. You bring the whole body forward. You bend the elbows, and you can come down quickly if you can't hold it. But try and keep those elbows in nice and close to keep the shoulders nice and safe. It's going to build that upper body strength. Plank, rotating the earth, chaturanga, inhaling into up dog, opening that chest, pulling the whole body forward and up, knees can be down if you want, engage that core like crazy as we exhale into downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. Bring the feet a little bit closer, bring the right leg up to the ceiling. We're going to go into pigeon. Some of you may be on your back if you've got any hip issues, and you could do recline pigeon. But most of you are going to be doing regular pigeon, so the knee is slightly outside the hip, or more centered if you have any groin concerns. If stretches are going out, keep the knee more centered. I keep the heel close to the opposite hip. If you were to bring that leg more parallel to the front of the mat, you would feel more hip stretch, but potentially it could put more pressure on the knee, so be careful with that one. Raised pigeon, it's a bit of a back bend, you breathe in. Extended pigeon, we look up, we fold forward, and then we tuck the chin, we bring the head down to the ground. Make sure the head is supported. So this is going to stretch out the outside of that right hip. Gravity is doing all the work for us. You want to try and keep the hips nice and even to the ground. Another thing is that back foot should be nicely lined up with the leg, top of the foot typically on the ground. So, some options here. If you come back into raised pigeon, so there's various options. We're going to do 3 slight variations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take hold of my back foot, and I'm going to take hold of the inside of the foot. So I'm taking hold of the inside of the back foot, and I'm pulling that foot in a little bit closer. So I'm getting into a deeper quad stretch. If you're doing this, don't let it be too intense, because this is quite a stretch. The next thing we can do is take hold of the foot with the other hand. So I'm taking hold of my left foot with my right hand, and then I'm opening up. So this time, instead of pulling the foot in, I'm pushing the foot away. So I'm really pushing that back foot into the hand, just like in Dhanurasana. And we release. What we could do next is add a twist. Now this is a little bit tricky. Some people lose the balance on this one, so just do what you can. But you're trying to bring that left arm onto that right leg, and you bring the palms together. So it's a little bit like what the twist we do in chair. And try and keep your balance. Sometimes if you lean too far over to the right, you're going to just fall out of the pose. And we release. Now the best thing next is come out and walk the dog. Feels so good. And then we bring the left leg up to the ceiling. And we come into pigeon on the other side. So if you guys go into pigeon, I'm just going to readjust my mat so that you're going to get the side view. So we're bringing that left knee forward, close to the edge of the mat. The next thing I'll do is I'll tuck the toes of the back foot, I'll walk that foot back a little bit. I'll make sure that back foot's nicely lined up with the leg, top of the foot on the ground. Hips nice and equal distance to the ground, equidistant, so your spine is in a nice straight line. And we're getting a little bit of a back stretch, back opening, and extended pigeon whenever you're ready, holding this for a few breaths. And as I say, this is bothersome for the knee. You could do the recline pigeon. And if you want to go into a deeper quad stretch, you come up into raised pigeon. You reach for that back foot, so I'm trying to find the back foot with my right hand. And I like to take the inside of the foot, and then I'm just pulling that foot in. Just go as deep as feels good. And then we're going to switch hands. We hold onto the foot with the other hand. Now this time, again, I'm holding onto the inside of the foot, but this time I'm pushing that foot into the hand. So I'm getting more of a chest opening, and it's a little bit of a spiraling action as well. That leg is doing a lot of work here. And we release. And then let's try the twist. So bring the right arm onto that left leg. Take your time. Try and keep your balance. A lot of people, if you lose your balance, don't worry, it happens a lot. And you're breathing. Right, don't hold the breath. Nice twist here. But you're getting a hip opener as well because we're doing it while we're in pigeon. We come out and we come into down dog, we walk the dog. So I'd like you to go back into pigeon. I want to show you another transition pose. So from pigeon, from raised pigeon, what you could do, instead of going into down dog, you could lean over to one side. So if your right knee is forward, you lean over to the right, and you bring that back foot round, and you get yourself into a twist. You can hug the knee, or you can bring the arm outside the leg. Other hand behind you. You're getting taller and taller, and then into that twist. Inhaling, getting tall. Exhale, a little deeper into that twist. And then we unwind. And just like cow face pose, we can circle in 360, trying to keep the feet where they are on the ground. So you can circle through 360, and your legs are ready to do the twist in the other direction. And this time we're going to twist to the right. So we're hugging the knee, or we're using the arm to leverage. Inhale, getting tall. Exhale into that twist. And then we unwind. So, come onto your back. Bridge. We've been doing a lot of the action with the arms, and that action is what we want in bridge. So we're bringing the hips up, we're interlacing the fingers, we're walking the shoulders in, pulling the shoulders down away from the head, walking the arms and shoulders in closer and closer, and we're pushing the hands, the arms into the ground. Gaze is towards the ceiling at all times. Please do not gaze from side to side. Back to the neck. Head is pushed into the ground, arms are pushed into the ground. So are the hands, so are the feet. And also with the feet, I'm gluing the feet to the mat, and then I'm trying to pull the feet in a little bit closer. This is going to open the whole front body, front of the hips, the chest. It's working the glutes. The glutes should be working. It's going to work the quads. And then we come part way down, we release the arms, and then we bring the rest of the back down to the ground. We pull the knees in nice and close, and we just rock from side to side. And then we rock ourselves up. Okay, one more hip opener. Well, actually a couple more. Astavakrasana first, so we're pulling the feet in. A diamond shape with the legs, you're holding on to the outside of the feet. I like to rock from side to side, getting the feet in a little bit closer. A lot of arm strength, and then I'm letting the knees come down to the ground. If your back is rounded, knees are high, sit on the block. If your knees are down but the back is still rounded, maybe your arms are a little bit short, you could hold on to here and pull in. But I'm using quite a lot of arm strength, so I'm using the strength of the arms to pull those hips forward, to get the back neutral. And then I'm trying to encourage those knees down to the ground. I'll rock from side to side a few times. I fidget. And eventually the knees are going to come all the way to the ground. Then you're going to get a nice opening on the inside of the hips. Astavakrasana. Okay, so we're getting towards our 8-angle pose. So I looked it up. I hadn't done this for a while, except for the last couple of days. And there's lots of videos on how to get into this pose. Sanskrit is Astavakrasana. And the instructions on Yoga Journal online, a little bit different to the way people did it in other videos. But as I say, if you have a wrist issue, shoulder issue, or what else? Elbow issue. It's probably not the pose for you, but anyway, we can do some of it. What they do a lot to prepare is they'll take one of the legs. So I'm going to take the right leg, and you can either rest the back of the calf on the inside of the elbows, and you're just rocking slightly from side to side like this. So we can all do this. A little bit, or you can just hug the knee like this and rock, or you can just not quite hug it, but you're holding onto the leg like this. So this is the way I actually prefer it. I'm just rocking from side to side, just getting a little bit more mobility in that hip. And then we work on the other hip, the other leg. We can start off by bringing the arms underneath the back of the leg, the shin, back of the shin, rocking from side to side. You can hug the leg like this. Or if that's too much, you can just hold on like this. Just rocking. I'm not going as far as I possibly can from side to side, but just all little movements here. So what they did in Yoga Journal, and it's sort of, if I look at the instructions, it sounds a little bit more complicated. But they started off. I've just got to look at my cheat sheet. Sorry. They started off in Tadasana, standing pose. You take the feet apart, and then we bring the hands. We're bringing the hands outside the left foot. Then we take the right hand and you bring it in between the legs and you bring it outside the right leg. So we're trying to get this right leg pretty well high up the arm, like this. And then we'll try and bring that left foot on top of the right leg. And then what I do is I'll lean over to the side and I'll try and straighten the legs. So I'm trying to squeeze that right arm with the legs, and then I'll lean forward and I'm putting a little bit more weight on that left shoulder there. 8-angle pose. Piece of cake, right? Okay. Please don't hate me. It's a challenge. It's a difficult pose. So the other side, I'm going to do it this way and then I want to show you the other way, which I think is a little bit easier, but not everyone does. So we're in Tadasana, mountain pose. Uttanasana, we fold forward. We bring the hands over to the right side this time. And then we take the left hand in between the legs to the outside of that left foot. And you're going to try and get the arm as high up the shoulder as you can. And then we bring that left foot onto the right leg. And we shoot the legs over to the left. And I'm trying to squeeze the arm, and I'm leaning over and forward. I'm putting a little bit more weight on that right hand, trying to get those shoulders nice and even. I should be squeezing the legs more. And then we come down. Phew. It's a challenge, and as you can see, my elbows are bent, which is why we were doing those chaturangas, because it's a little bit like chaturanga. And a lot of weight on the wrists. So let's just stretch the wrists out. If it's bothering the wrist too much, I think that's probably plenty for you guys. But if you want to try the other way they did it, if I can remember, I don't have a cheat sheet for this, but the way they get into it is they just do it from a seated position, and you're bringing that, so we did these little mobility movements, right? So you then take the right arm behind the right leg, like this, and you're pushing into that leg. And then I'm taking that right hand, trying to line it up with the hips. And then I'll stack the feet. So I'm bringing the left foot onto the right leg. And my hands are more or less hip distance apart. So you can probably all get like this. But the next bit, which is a bit of a challenge, which is probably why Yoga Journal do it from standing, is you haven't got to then lift yourself up, which is quite a challenge. And then you straighten the legs, you're bending the elbows, you're leaning forward, you're leaning over onto that left side a little bit more, trying to get those shoulders nice and even. That's the way they did it in most of the videos that I found. Okay, we've still got one more side to do, right? You can get part way there. Okay, other side. We're working on the left, so we're doing these little rocks on the left leg. We then bring the left arm And you're trying to get that left leg pretty high up the arm. And I'm pushing that arm into the leg quite a lot. Right foot comes onto that left leg. You get your hands pretty well hip distance apart. And then you have to support yourself. This is a challenge. And then you try and straighten the legs, bending the elbows, leaning forward, a little bit more weight onto the right hand. And then you come out of the pose. Okay. That's over with. Thank goodness, everyone says. So that's pose, 8 angled pose. Astavakrasana. Quite a pose, right? So, my apologies for inflicting that upon you guys. But I like hand balances. Maybe I'll do a little video of just that pose, so we can sort of practice it just whenever we feel like it, whenever we're in the mood. So we've done lots of hip openers, we've done lots of shoulder openers. So since the hips are really open, let's talk about lotus a little bit. Lotus, you have to be very careful in lotus not to mess the knees up. So if you have tight hips, please, I would say just avoid lotus. To get into lotus, to be able to get into lotus, you should first be able to do this pose. So I'm bringing that right leg so that the shin is parallel to the edge of the mat that's in front of me. I'll then take the other leg and I'll stack the shins. So the outer of my left foot pretty close to my right knee, and then a lot of people will have a big gap here. What we're trying to do, we're trying to close that gap. If you can close the gap, then you're probably ready for lotus. If you like this, your back is rounded, please, if you do lotus, it's going to put pressure on the knee. Do not do lotus if you can't go any further than this in this pose. I feel it. I don't feel much in my right hip. This one I feel it mostly in the left hip. A stretch. It doesn't hurt, but you know, I can feel that opening there. Then we would work on the other side. And we're just bringing that knee. This is a little bit easy for me. I feel a little stretch on the right side this time. But I think my left hip is a little bit tighter than my right hip. I actually like to get into lotus while I'm on my back. So what I'll do is I'll do this. You can come up to your back. I'll actually bring the right leg, the outer of the right leg onto the left foot, just like we do in the figure 4. But I'm keeping the left foot on the ground, and I'll push that leg away, opening the inside of the hip. And then I'll bring the foot inside the hip and push the leg away. So this is half lotus. You're probably okay with half lotus. And then we do the same on the other side. Opening the inside of the hip. Outer of the the left ankle on the right leg. Right foot is on the ground, opening the inside of that left hip. And then you can bring that left foot inside that right hip and then push that leg away from you. So to get into, I'm going to show you how to get into lotus from that position. But I forgot to mention something earlier, is that when you come into lotus, you want to move at the hips, you don't want to torque this knee. So it's almost like you're trying to keep, it's almost like you've got this strapped together. So you don't want to be able to torque the knee like this. You want to keep that together. You're moving at the hip, not at the knee joint, right? Keep that knee nice and safe. So I'll bring one foot in to the opposite hip. I'll then bring the other foot inside. So I'm in lotus. Keep the knee safe. And then I'll rock up like this. And we sit up tall. And then you can do whatever you like. You can do breathing, you can do a little meditation. This is the typical meditation pose. You could do a little bit of suspension. You could bring the hands either side of you and you can lift yourself up like this, working the upper body a lot. Come out of lotus. I don't need to hold lotus too long. Please don't do lotus if you have any issues. Don't force yourself into lotus. Stay safe, please. You could do that same lift with just the legs crossed. So I'm crossing the legs, I'm engaging that core, I'm bringing the hips up, and then I'm bringing the legs up like this. A lot of work, a lot of core work. And then we come down, you don't have to hold it too long. I know what some of you are saying. You're saying, gosh, that is so easy. I can just hear it. Okay, I know it's so easy, so let's try this instead. Extend the legs. So the legs are extended. This is Tadasana, staff pose. Hands are either side, you're either side of the hips. And then we're going to bring the hips back like this. You have to bring them back. And then we're going to lift the hips up and then the legs up. And you breathe. There we go. That's not so easy, right? Okay. Am I being too mean to you guys today? Good job you guys are on mute, that's all I can say. Right, I think that's enough for today, don't you? So let's just wind ourselves down. Come onto your back. Let's do a full body stretch. You're on your back. You're bringing the arms overhead. You're trying to get as much length as you can. And then we're going to take a little bit of a side stretch. We shift the hips over. We're getting into that banana shape, stretching out one side of the body. Breathe. And then we stretch out the other side, shifting the hips in the other direction. Take a few breaths here. And then we recenter. And we're just going to walk the feet in, pull the knees in, and we're just going to gently rock from side to side. And then we bring the hands onto the knees, and we just do some easy rotations, keeping the hands on the knees, circling in one direction. And then we circle it in the other direction. And then we come into Shavasana. We're bringing the legs apart. You're bringing the arms either side of you, palms up. Chin is tucked. And we're just going to totally relax. Just letting yourself sink into the ground, letting the legs, the hips, the back get heavy. The arms, the shoulders, the head heavy. Faces relaxed, faces soft, eyes closed, breathing is regular. And just try and keep focus, keep attention on the breath. If you want to stay in Shavasana longer, that's fine. Just stay in Shavasana. If you're ready to come out, walk the feet in, roll over to one side. Take a breath or two, keeping the eyes closed, and then slowly come into a seated position. So last week there was a couple of people in Shavasana and I disturbed them. This week what I'm going to do is if anyone is still connected and I need to chat to anyone at the end, I'll just sort of disconnect them from Zoom. So if you're in Shavasana, just hang out there, just enjoy. Otherwise, we're all in a seated position. We'll inhale as the arms come up. Exhale as the hands come down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now this time keep the palms together. Keep the hands towards the head, and we're just going to bow into Namaste.